advance, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first item is I may have to leave a little bit early to catch a flight, but Susanna Barnes, who's on her way, she'll be here in a moment, has agreed to take over as a chair pro tem. We just need to vote on that. Do I have a motion? Great.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, it's passed. So we have a few, no. Oh, yeah, sorry. Got to read the appeal decisions here. Pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. All right, we're going to take a couple things. So we're waiting on a quorum, if you were wondering. So we're going to take a couple of presentations out of order. The first one is, which is, we're going to move 72307. I think Ford's will go ahead and proceed with that. Yeah, Dr. Todd Okolachaney, hope I got that right, Deputy Executive Director of Planning Commission, to present the Belmead Highlands study.
At Brooks, and Mr. Okolachaney will not be here, and so I will be presenting in his place today. Thank you. So good afternoon. As I mentioned, I'm Harriet Brooks, and I am a senior planner at the planning department, and I'm here today to give an informational presentation on the Belmead Highlands study. So just to give this board a little bit of a backstory, the geographic area of this study, to the north, it's the commercial corridor at Highway 70 and 100 where they start to come together right at Belmead Plantation. On the south side is Percy Warner Park, which is why we're here today. To the west is Highway 70, and to the east is the city of Belmead. And within that, there's several sites over the past few years that have developed as regional attractors for tourism, the Plantation, Cheekwood, Warner Park. And as the tourism industry has really boomed over the past several years, especially with increased usage of the parks and outdoor amenities during the pandemic, this boom has started to take a bit of a toll on the neighborhood. And so Councilmember Henderson began some conversations with us last year about just safety concerns that she had with bike and ped collisions and people parking on the sides of the roads, which are starting to cause stormwater issues and things of that nature, with the goal of really kind of initiating a planning study looking at both mobility and placemaking for this area in terms of these regional attractors, and also thinking about how we can better manage transportation in the future. So last year, the Metro's fiscal year 23 capital improvements budget approved $1 million for neighborhood planning and infrastructure studies. Of that, $500,000 has been allocated to study mobility and urban design improvements in Belmead Highlands. So this is this geographic area that I outlined earlier. So beginning in February, we, the planning department, and then along with NDOT, and we've had representatives of the Parks Department and Metro Water Services, have begun a group of small kind of stakeholder meetings with some stakeholder leaders in this area to begin having conversations about what are some of the issues and planning principles that a future study could undertake. And so we've had monthly or so meetings over the past few months, and then I've also been having one-on-one listening sessions and starting to draft together a scope of work to hire a consultant group to work on a transportation and mobility plan for this area, thinking about demand management, but also urban design solutions such as increasing bike ped infrastructure, how we could incorporate transit better in this area, or thinking outside of the box in terms of both placemaking and infrastructure for this area as we're really thinking about its impact on tourism in the future, and also just the impact on the landscape of this really kind of culturally and historically rich area. So this slide lists the 5 planning principles that came out of our stakeholder meetings significantly in April and May of this year. The first being expanding multimodal access. So the primary goal of the project being to reduce car dependency and encourage multimobility by providing adequate bike and ped infrastructure. And then secondly, enhancing place experience. So that's improving the experience, especially in terms of safety for pedestrians and cyclists, with better wayfinding, entry sequence to the park and to Cheekwood, wider trails, lighting, and other urban design considerations. Preserving the cultural landscape. This has been very important in our conversations, is preserving and enhancing the historically and culturally significant landmarks, view sheds, corridors, habitats, natural features, and other things of that nature. And bolstering resiliency by incorporating nature-based solutions for stormwater management. And then also, in our conversations, trying to find ways to build upon mission-oriented synergies of some of our stakeholder groups. So some of the plans and priorities of Metro Parks and Warner Park, the Friends of Warner Park has outlined several objectives that or mission-oriented needs that they would like to see considered for the neighborhood, and Cheekwood as well. And then lastly, providing strategic and adequate parking. So after taking these first 4 considerations into account, finding an appropriate balance between encouraging multimodal transportation and transportation demand management while adequately allowing for vehicular access. And we do realize that the parking considerations of this area are fraught with history and some discussions in the past, and we are aware of that, and we have been working with stakeholders, and we are not proposing any solution or recommendation. We are rather seeking to begin the process with the consultant group of, seeking a strategy for greater mobility for the whole area. And then finally, this last slide that I have here today is just some of the more targeted or specific priorities that have come out of our conversations. So these are providing bike ped linkages from the Belmead Highlands neighborhood to the Highway 70 and 100 commercial corridor, kind of enhancing that as a neighborhood center. Boosting transit and bike share access throughout the whole neighborhood, enhancing pedestrian infrastructure on key streets such as Page Road and Forest Park Drive. There are several places that have been identified that will be key for enhanced crosswalks and pedestrian infrastructure where there seem to be some safety and conflict zones there. Installing speed cushions on Forest Park Drive. NDOT is already working on that, and they've also began some a few other studies for improvements in the area. So we're working very closely with them on that. Renovating a pedestrian path from the overflow lot to Cheekwood entry with lighting and ADA accessibility, designing a perimeter trail from the Warner Park Alley to the golf course pavilion and Cheekwood entrance, just overall improving wayfinding and the entry sequence in the neighborhood so that people don't get confused about, am I going to Cheekwood or am I going to the park, to the golf course, and then needing to turn around, just kind of overall confusion there. And then investigating opportunities to improve parking conditions. And as we're very early in the process, I just want to note that I'm sure that there will be additional topics that, that will come up and additional recommendations that will need to be considered. But this is just a short list of the many things that have kind of popped up during our stakeholder conversations over the past few months. So moving into kind of next steps or the future, we are currently working now on drafting a scope of work to procure a consultant to begin this work for this mobility plan. And so we are planning on having that scope drafted in the next few weeks and going ahead and getting that procurement process started, which is why we wanted to come speak with this board today. And then we also have on the books a July stakeholder meeting with the same group, so we can keep moving forward with that, and then hopefully begin a mobility process which will include community engagement, which I think we are estimating will take somewhere between 6 and 8 months. And so that's the conclusion of my presentation. I'm happy to take questions or comments and would love your feedback.
Well, let me first say thank you for getting all these stakeholders together and the collaboration. And I think it's a great start. Appreciate your presentation. This is something needs to happen over here. I think it's been sort of around for a few years. I spent some time over there too, and the parking can be a little tough. And I think as we improve the golf course, the hopes are that will also allow some of this to to be pretty important. So, any questions here?
I just want to say that I agree with you, Cruz. I think it's important to have all the stakeholders together, realize that all these are big assets for the city of Nashville, and they're in a neighborhood. And I think having everyone together and evaluate this on a more comprehensive way is a whole lot better than viewing this in silos and in a parochial way.
Thank you. You kind of touched on the community engagement piece and the meetings with the stakeholders. Just to clarify, what is the tone and tenor of the community around this plan? Are they positively thinking about this? Are they on board with the multimodal, the infrastructure concept that has been?
So we have not proposed anything as of yet. The concerns that we've gotten so far are, especially from the neighbors, are really about pedestrian and bike safety and being able to just perform a neighborhood walk on a Saturday, which has gotten really difficult in the past couple of years because of all of the cars parking on the side of the road. Neighbors have also expressed concern about flooding with some of the stormwater infrastructure that has especially been impacted by parking on the side of the road and that sort of thing. And so we have not recommended anything as of yet because this is kind of our initial data analysis and kind of gathering things together, and we don't want to rush that too quickly. But our plan, as with any planning study, would be that we would have community stakeholder meetings, invite everyone who lives in the area and also people who might work in the area, try to have those in different times of day, several different options to try to get as many people as we can and just better understand what their concerns are, mobility or otherwise. I mean, it could be any other range of kind of placemaking issues that could arise.
Any other questions?
I have a question, but I think this is more towards Director Odom, maybe. I see that there's, of the $1 million allocated to infrastructure studying, 500 of that is going to Belmead Highlands. How many square miles does that cover in Nashville, this part of town?
I don't know.
Do you by any chance have any?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm happy to do a GIS analysis and send it to you.
If you're open to it, I would appreciate it. I
Oh,
just
yeah,
want to make sure
sure.
that we understand why out of $1 million, half of it goes to just maybe one zip code or one neighborhood, as opposed to looking at and studying what's happening across the other 525 square miles. Not an issue for you, but
Hi, I'm Lucy Kempf. I'm the director of the planning department. Thank you all so much for your service and for having us here today. I apologize. I thought this item was a little later on the agenda. So keeping us on our toes. That's great. So the planning department receives allocations for lots of different kinds of studies. And so, for example, we've done work in North Dickerson Road. We're doing work in and around the Global Mall. We did work recently on the East Bank. And so we do work throughout the county. This particular allocation came in for this particular area specifically, but that is not to suggest that we don't do work elsewhere in the county, if that makes sense. And sometimes that work can be assigned to us in different ways. And so council sometimes will say, for example, we got a request several years ago, we want you to do some work in Edge Hill. And so we're doing that work today. And so other times we'll get more general planning dollars where the department has a little more discretion. So I would love to share that information with you and the board, sort of how we do that work. But this isn't representative of our whole work program.
certainly. And please, let me back up a bit. I'm coming from Metro Nashville Public Schools, so I understand the allocation process, the capital needs budget, and I just want to maybe put it on our radar that as a board, we consider having those conversations with the council and with the mayor to understand exactly why and where dollars are being funneled, and then how we're making sure that, again, the other however many zip codes, the other 500 plus square miles are being touched each year, even if it's minimally, or if we're doing it year by year, decade by decade, to make sure that all of Nashville is seeing studies, having stakeholder conversations. So all of that is helpful. Anything you can share would certainly be insightful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you. Great start.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you. I've been told we didn't have a quorum, so we're going to go back to the possibility that I might have to leave early, in which case we need to elect a chair pro tem. Susanna Scott Barnes has agreed to do so. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. It passes. Okay. So now we're going to move on with where are we? Yeah, so we're going to, okay, so we're going to do a couple of affirmations real quick. The first one, we're going to take a little out of order. The board to affirm the appointment of Mr. Ed Henley III, representing the Planning Commission as a member of the Parks Board. Mr. Henley's term will expire May 31st, 2024. We've got a short period there, but we're happy to have you. Board to affirm reappointment of Susanna Scott Barnes as a member of the Parks Board. Mrs. Scott Barnes her term will expire April 30th, 2028. Next, we need to establish guidelines for public comment per the new state law for public meetings. Do we have any thoughts on that? We will.
So we're taking that out as well. Okay, I just want to be clear on the agenda.
Other boards, my understanding has time limits based on individuals, or time limits based on perhaps just a general time. So do we have any thoughts on that?
Mr. Chair, I can say, I know council does 2 minutes, and then as long as you show up by a certain time, you're allowed to speak. With public schools, we have shifted from once a month to every meeting, and we have that 3 minutes, and they have to sign up at least 4 days ahead of time. I'm just giving you all this to share, but I think the idea of having community members just be able to show up is always helpful, and also always what's the opposite of disenfranchising someone? To make sure that everyone has a voice, you know? So I think I would suggest that we allow whoever is here by 12, 12:05, 12:15, whatever time public participation would start to be able to speak as long as they sign their name, write their address down to make sure that they're part of Metro Nashville. And then we could stay in line with council and move with 2 minutes, or stay in line with the other elected body, the public schools, and go with 3.
May I ask a question? So, Maurice, when do you send out the minute, or the agenda for the meeting traditionally? How many days in advance?
7 days.
So would it be possible for us to say, we limit speech to 2 minutes and they need to be on our agenda 7 days in advance? The reason for saying that is our meetings are in the middle of the day. Many folks work, and so if we're going to wind up having a meeting that lasts an extended period of time, people have to be able to do a little bit of planning in order to do that. And if we just have it where people can show up at the last minute and theoretically could have a protracted meeting, a bunch of people on our board might not be able to stay for all that. So I would suggest we consider that we have 7-day notice period to coincide with the agenda going out, and say 2 minutes, which is something that people have said before, be our considered time limit.
3 minutes is consistent with our current parks policy, just as a note. So maybe that for consideration. I'm fine with 2 or 3 minutes. I know that in reading the legislation, the public comment period has to be germane to the agenda items, and that happens at the top of the agenda. And so hearing those recommendations, what would it look like maybe to consider not limiting necessarily the number of people that speak, but the time period, the comment period as a limit, to speak to Pete's concerns.
So I've heard several things, and I'm in agreement with all of them, which is.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd just like to add, just for reference for you all, for those who would like to address the Parks Board, we already have notice that they need to let us know 2 weeks in advance so we can get them on the agenda. I think there's the intention, and I'll defer to our legal representatives here. I think the intention of this public comment period is outside of those regular agenda items. That's just my assumption.
State law only requires the agenda to be posted 2 days in advance, so 7 days makes me a little bit nervous.
He can't hear you, Macy. Oh.
Kelly, the state law only requires that agendas be posted 48 hours in advance. So the 1 week out does make me a little bit nervous. Sometimes things are added to the agendas a little bit later. Some boards have chosen to limit the number of speakers, so like 10 speakers, 2 minutes each. You could do the 30 minutes without limiting the number of speakers, but then you run the risk of someone taking up the whole 30 minutes. So, just my 2 cents.
Unless we have the 2 to 3 minute criteria around it,
It's up to you all.
just clarifying.
Well,
And we have to decide this today?
You've got a public comment period on your agenda, so
Yeah.
if you want to limit it today, then you need to vote on it before the public comment period, which is, I think, up next.
and we can always go back and change it if we think it's, if it's.
And we can go back and change it outside of today. Come on, Macy. Just,
Don't make her do that. Yes, nod your head. All right, then, what I heard was maybe a max number of time, certainly a max number of maybe like total time on one particular issue, and then perhaps a max number of minutes per speaker. And then we need some time frame whereby they need to get their name on the agenda if they're going to speak. Is that kind of what I heard? All right. Do we have a motion for that? Do I need to articulate it better?
Well, I do have one clarification. It seems as though there's a process that's in place now if someone wants to come and be an agenda item. This is specifically if individuals want to come and speak, particularly in the open session. So I think with that understanding, I make a motion that it's 2 minutes. I have pretty good experience with planning commission and I understand that. But I do think with input from the board that we should maybe discuss what that time window is for public comment. I'm familiar with the parks, not the parks, I'm here, parks, familiar with the fairgrounds board where they allocate a specific amount of time and that's known. And then it is on a first come, first served basis. And so I think that's something that we should also give a lot of clarity about if we're going to ask people to do that. So someone doesn't show up thinking that they're going to arrive 30 minutes early and wait to go first. And then everyone else is sending an email. And so I think we do need to be very clear about that because a lot of times that will cause some friction at the meetings. It's not a formal motion. It was more of a clarification and then a statement, but I can make a motion and then we can go from there. So yeah, for the purposes of today, I'd make a motion that we allocate 2 minutes per speaker and that we limit that time to 20 minutes.
Do we have a second?
I can second that.
All right. All in favor?
Sorry, I
Discussion.
just, yeah.
Discussion.
I did want to I think we should, I like what you're saying about clarifying the process, and I think that we should add our method of notice into this motion. So if, I'm not quite sure procedurally, if I can add that it would be first come, first serve, in person, not email. Procedurally, can I add to the motion? Okay, I'll amend the motion to add first come, first serve in person.
And I'd like to amend it further just to say no more than, say, 30 minutes total, if we can do that in the beginning.
Are these details that can be discussed for the purposes of this meeting, to do the 2 minutes today, 20 minutes, and then the details be discussed at advocacy when we meet at 11 a.m. on the days of the meetings? So we needed a process for today.
Procedurally, you also can't have two friendly amendments to a motion, so.
You're also going to need a process for next month. So,
Right.
And the advocacy the public comment period will come before you're taking recommendations from the advocacy committee. So
We took this out of order
if
today.
you all just want to move forward with a motion, or if you just want to hear public comments today and not vote on any sort of restriction, I'll leave that up to you all.
All good with that?
Yep. So how about I restate my motion? I think I can withdraw my motion and restate. So for the purposes of restating the motion, I'd like to make a motion that we allow individuals during a 20-minute public comment period to have 2 minutes to speak. And that is on a first come, first served basis that will be determined by a sign-in sheet done in person. And that will, of course, make sure that Parks is present, has a staff member present to administer that, make sure we account for any and all accessibility considerations associated with that, and I'd move for approval.
A second?
Second that motion.
Discussion? Everybody good? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Favorite has it. Okay. So we're going to go back to approval of the minutes, I think, somewhere here. Consideration of,
Motion to approve?
yeah,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Good. And then we have Metro Council referrals.
Council members Hurt and Withers are here today. Are the only ones that I see.
As Chair of Parks and Facilitation.
Thank you for being here. Councilman Withers. Great. So now we have our first open comment period. Do we have anyone wishing to speak? You have 2 minutes if you do. Yes, ma'am. Any?
My name is Rafaela Cohen. I live at 117 30th Avenue North, 37203. I was mainly here because of I wanted to make sure that the proposal by the city was withdrawn on the Centennial Park New Year's Eve bash. Is that definitely true?
Yes, ma'am, that has been withdrawn.
Okay. And while I was here and listening to the thing about this Belmead Highlands thing, just once, I would like this city to consider the people that live here and not the tourists. Just once. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir, in the back.
Tim Tomes, we would like to know if we can be provided a monthly update with Brookmead Park on what's going on. It is becoming incredibly overgrown. People are coming back. We are personally contacting the police to keep people from coming back in the park. And one of the concerns we have is that letting it go for as long as it's going, the amount of money it's going to cost to get in there once it's completely overgrown. So I'd just like to ask if we can get a monthly update on that.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else on the open agenda? All right. Old business, there is none, so we'll proceed with the consent agenda. Let's see, we've covered a couple of these. All right, we've covered 2302. We're moving down to 2305. Tennessee Golf Foundation requests approval. What we did. So just that? Okay, yeah, sorry, the consent agenda. The board approval requested of the following consent applications. I'll name all those. Yeah, to be taken in its entirety. Any discussion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda is listed.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it passes. Then new business. We're 72305. Tennessee Golf Foundation requests approval of a participation agreement between Metro Parks and the Tennessee Golf Foundation for improvement of 2 golf courses in Shelby Park. TGF proposes to design and construct renovations necessary to improve and enhance the playability of both courses at a cost to Metro Parks not to exceed $2 million. All design and construction work will be subject to approval by Metro Parks. Yeah, Tennessee Golf Foundation, right. Yeah, do we have some folks from Tennessee Golf Foundation want to speak to this?
Good afternoon. My name is Whit Turnbow. I'm the president of the Tennessee Golf Foundation. I appreciate you guys considering our proposal. In a nutshell, we create golfers. We believe in affordable, accessible, quality golf for everyone. And that is why we're involved and have almost finished a project at Percy Warner now. The golf course at Shelby Park is in need of some TLC, and we would love to partner with you all and be a part of that project to provide some affordable, accessible opportunities for our community.
You got any questions or staff recommendations? John?
We met with both Stewart and with Witt, met with the superintendents of both my golf maintenance and our grounds maintenance, Phil Luckett, who was involved. The proposal, this is a grant from the mayor to them to do the improvements similar to the improvements that were done at Percy Warner. In addition, there's an advisory group that would be created. When we discussed this, it was clear that this advisory group would be as much an advocacy group as anything to help support and help us with golf in general. We feel very confident and very positive about this relationship between Metro Parks and Tennessee Golf Foundation. So we are in favor of the agreement.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I've struggled with point 11 in the agreement. I appreciate the desire to make sure that there's a partnership between the Parks Department and TGF. I struggle with the development of yet another board because not only are we not elected, we're not sure who would be appointing those advisory members. And so I struggle to understand why they could not maybe advocate in different ways or just what their functionality would be.
The way it was described, and to be honest with you, when I first saw that, I had some reservations myself. I've got experts that take care of golf, so I'm not looking for experts. But the reality is they are golf experts themselves. Tennessee Golf Foundation is definitely golf experts. And what they bring to the table is additional support, additional advocacy, for lack of a better word, that can help us in our mission towards the growth of and support of golf throughout the county. Mm-hmm. And so right now we've seen an effort at Percy Warner through a private partner donor relationship. Here we're seeing a very unique relationship where the city is donating money to them to do it, with the caveat that we have required them to have a project manager of our approval, which they stepped up and they've already said, and we were already in approval of. So we're very confident of who they're going to put in charge, and we're very confident that that project will go very well. So the advisory group is there to suggest and give input to us, and more input is. There's never anything wrong with more input. More information is not bad. So we're going to take their input. We're still going to do what we think is the right thing to do. I've got people that I'm very confident in that do it. I don't have the knowledge. I mean, that's why I've got other folks that have it. I trust their expertise, their educational background, their knowledge. And so we're going to rely on that. And with the input that we get from the Tennessee Golf Foundation, I see us going and just continuing to move up and move forward and doing better.
So I certainly appreciate that. I still haven't heard anything that makes me believe that an MOU should be created to stand up a new committee that would advise, as opposed to maybe having those individuals, if they want to meet together and to send us advice or to send you advice or to present to this board consistently to provide updates. I struggle to see why establishing a new committee that would be part of, frankly, the Nashville charter, why that would be a necessity. And I'm not sure if I'm directing this towards you, Director Odom, or your staff, or maybe even to this board.
Did you see the proposed advisory committee makeup? There should have been an attachment in your packet.
I read through this a couple of times. I don't believe I saw it.
It's made up of 3 Tennessee Golf Foundation members. It's made up of the superintendent of golf maintenance, the superintendent of golf course operations, and a PGA manager, one of my golf course managers, and then 3, what's the right word I'll use? Heavy golfers,
Sure.
Strong golfers in our community. I think we cover all the bases with this committee. I think that it's a very strong group of people that bring a wide aspect of viewpoints to the table.
Certainly. So maybe I'll direct this more towards my peers around the table. I think these 10 people are probably great, and I hope that they will continue to work alongside you and make sure that this process is state of the art and first of its class. I believe, though, that we as a Parks Board, again, we're not elected, we're appointed, and I would hesitate to acquiesce any of our authority without having consistent conversations with that group of 10. So I believe that that group of 10 could certainly meet and should advise you and have those conversations. You seem to be confident in that relationship. I don't believe we should include that in the Nashville Charter. So I would be opposed to just that portion of the MOU or the resolution. But I approve everything else around it. I approve the relationship. That is the single thing that just gives me pause.
Okay.
And my
understand there's-
apologies. Oh, go ahead.
No, I understand there's some council members that want to speak on this.
Thank you so much. I'm Sharon Hurt. I'm council member at large and chair of Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture, which also includes parks. And this has not come before our council committee. And considering that there's a $2 million allocation, I would imagine that there should be an RFP in regards to this, because we've not had one that I'm aware of. I don't think that I've missed a meeting. And no one from the mayor's office has spoken to me, or as I know of any of my committee members, because they've not spoken to me either in regards to this. And I just don't want us to be in violation of not vetting out any metro contracts. And I think we need to ensure that we have that vetting process in place and we adhere to it. So I'm not sure if Mr. Wilcox want to respond.
Sam Wilcox, Mayor's Office, please, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, council member, and thank you, board members. Just to provide a little bit of context, so the $2 million that we are appropriating, council approved. It was part of the 4% maintenance money that was approved in council several months ago. What we tried to do is find a creative way to fund really what I would consider the last part of the restoration to Shelby Bottoms Park that was damaged in the tornado in 2020, which was this golf course. And so this $2 million appropriation is to fix that damage. And then while we're in there, partner with the Tennessee Golf Foundation to enhance the course, right? So this participation agreement has been through council on first reading. It'll be in front of your committee on this next, before second reading on the, that would be on the 18th. So we'll be in front of you on the 17th to vet with Councilmember Hurt's committee. We're doing this a little bit on an expedited basis just because we don't have, it takes 3 readings at council and we have to be through council by the end of August. But there is the money has already been appropriated. It's just about how do we spend it? Do we do it only through parks, or do we try and partner where an outside party can guarantee, give us a guarantee on the completion of the project, can help bring outside experts, can bring private resources to the project to expand the scope, perhaps, as they're doing with the Vinnie Links course as well. So happy to answer any more questions, but yes.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. So you said that it has to be through council by August. Just wondering why, since the budget is already passed July 1, could it not? Yeah, just
sure. So the budget is passed. This is a participation agreement, which is a separate ordinance. All contracts have to come back through council. So just because we appropriate, I'm not sure, this might be a little bit different than the school board, but we appropriate money, and then once we sign a contract, that contract has to be approved by council with 3 readings.
I'm just wondering about the time frame. Why is there a condensed time frame? Why does it have to happen before August or by August?
The council term ends. The last meeting is in August. The second meeting in August is the last meeting for this term. So we would have to start over
with 3 readings with the new council.
3 readings starting in October, which then, as you know, with school budgets,
Sure.
right? You have inflation, construction costs. Like once you have an agreement, we would encourage everyone just to go.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Any other council folks want to speak?
Well, I'm still stuck on the $2 million because my husband is an avid golfer, and I think he probably paid for that $2 million out there at Shelby and Vinnie Links and all the rest of them, and Ted Rose and Harpeth Hills. But again, it just seems like we've put the cart before the horse here, and that's the part that concerns me, because I just coming and being here, and I know that it did come through in administrative legislation, but in terms of the details, I would have preferred to have some of this information shared prior to, before it comes here. And I too believe that the experts that they have are definitely capable, but me being a strong advocate for small minority and women-owned businesses, I would also want to know if there has been any opportunity for a small minority and women-owned business to participate in this partnership, because I believe that more the merrier. So, and we all can benefit because we know that historically there's been too many programs and plans that have been without those that could definitely build capacity and benefit from projects such as this. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
So that actually was part of my question around why TGF. I am very familiar with your organization, but I understand this to be an administrative, I don't know the term that you just used, but an administrative function. And Mr. Wilcox, thank you for being here. But how did we get to the Tennessee Golf Foundation and not others? Were others considered?
So on this project, again, the idea was we need to finish repairing Shelby Bottoms Park from the 2020 tornadoes. This is the last final portion of the park that is yet to be repaired. We were familiar with Tennessee Golf Foundation's work at Percy Warner. We wanted to partner with a local nonprofit to the extent that we could to provide these services. And just to clarify, the agreement is that we will provide up to $2 million for this project. They will guarantee the completion of this project. They will go through their procurement process to procure the actual people who will do the work, right? The foundation members aren't doing the work themselves, right? We are partnering with them to administer that work like they did at Percy Warner. I believe they actually approached us about this idea on forming a more comprehensive partnership, not just here, but maybe also in the future about fundraising for other municipal courses elsewhere in the county as well and performing work there as well.
But this is not a fundraiser. This is an allocation from the 4% fund, correct?
That in this example, yes,
In this
right?
example.
They privately did Percy Warner. They are also going to make, I don't want to speak out of turn, but the Vinnie Links work that you all are doing is all going to be privately funded. That is in addition to, that is on top of the $2 million. The $2 million is just the public contribution. They're also going to make pretty significant private contribution to fix the second course there.
I don't disagree that this needs to happen. I love the project. But to my colleagues' concerns about I'll speak to that next, but about the advisory committee and then the way that you're familiar with Tennessee Golf Foundation. How do other organizations or foundations have access to even apply for? They had access to the administration and came to ask for this partnership. The partnership didn't exist, and so how do others have access to this type of conversation to be even considered for $2 million?
Well, I guess I want to address a couple of things. One, to Board Member Buggs's comment earlier about a change to the charter. The advisory committee does not touch the charter. We would never, that would be a charter referendum and amendment. You all are free to form or disband advisory committees at will. That would be an internal, they would report to you all under this concept. They don't have any authority to allocate money or make policy. It is purely a advisory board to make recommendations to you all to help us have more accessible and self-sustainable golf facilities in Metro, right? That's all they're doing. This is not a power grab by a private nonprofit or the mayor's office or anything like that. This is just this is a nonprofit that has come and asked for, they think there are ideas and some low-hanging fruit on how we can improve golf operations, from revenue to maintenance to competitive play to accessibility, and they want to make those recommendations in some formal way to the board. And they think again, that could extend for as long as you all want or as short as you all want, but that is your authority. That this agreement does not change anything like that. On the accessibility to projects, we have not heard from anyone else on
They don't know the opportunity
golf.
exists.
I would say we hear from dozens of nonprofits and partners who propose projects to our office and to departments all of the time. I think the Tennessee Golf Foundation would be happy to partner with others if they raise their hand and wanted to participate. To my knowledge, there isn't any other nonprofit in Nashville that has this specific expertise and experience that could perform this type of work at this level, at this scale, and this quickly than the Tennessee Golf Foundation. And so, if you have an idea, if there are others that want to reach out to administer the program, which is what the Tennessee Golf Foundation would be doing, or administering the contract, I think we're open to that discussion. This would not preclude any contractor or subcontractor that wants to actually perform the work from also competing or discussing that with the Tennessee Golf Foundation, right? The work and the administration and program management are two separate items. Does that make sense? Not really.
I'll smile, Sam. I think, are there other questions? Because I have a.
I just had a comment.
Okay.
It sounds to me like the way the Tennessee Golf Foundation got involved is they showed initiative. They saw a need.
Mm-hmm.
They raised their hand and said, "There's a need, and we can help you."
But there's a process for showing an interest
so
and raising a hand.
That seemed like how they got involved.
I got it.
There wasn't a published RFP. They simply said, "There's a need, and we know how to help you a little bit." And I like the idea of the city being open to having people who have knowledge equal to or greater than or in conjunction with the city to get a better product for our citizens. So I don't see this as a profit-making enterprise for the Tennessee Golf Foundation unless I'm missing something. It seems to me that they saw a need, they raised their hand, and that's what got us here today. Procedurally, there may be steps that folks consider that need to be involved in that process, but I appreciate the initiative anyway.
Just a comment. So, as a golfer and somebody that's gone to play every one of the courses in Metro, there is a real need there, and I know there's needs for everything, and the budgets are strained and all this sort of thing. And so, I think the genesis of this, as I understand it, was how do we want golf better for the public? That's what those folks are saying. Everybody does, right? We're all on the same page. We want it to be the best golf courses, public golf courses in the country, if we could, right? And they have access to other grants, and it's a very big thing in the golfing world right now to promote public golf, to promote lots of play, youth, all the things that we all want. And so I think this was a means to get that accelerated. Obviously, the Percy Warner Golf Course was the start of that. That was all private, and I think the hope is that they can go to each one of the golf courses and raise private funds, maybe get some public funds when when the mayors and the council folks think that's appropriate. It's Shelby Park's 100th anniversary today. So I mean, this year, and that was when the golf course was built. Mm-hmm. And so I think the hope was that from this mayor, I don't speak for these guys, but to get this thing through so we could get it going, as opposed to get this done, with this council term and so on, and to get the work going, because it's just been delayed far too long and underfunded, and et cetera. So I think that's the genesis of all this.
Mr. Chair, I have.
So I guess this is for clarification. Is this a public-private partnership where the city is going to be providing the funds? And what are they providing the funds for? Are they providing the funds for the consultation work that the TGF is doing? or are they providing the funds for the design and the actual work and labor and all that goes into it for it to be done?
It's the latter, is my understanding. They're not making any money on it. They're not. There's nobody at the Tennessee Golf Foundation.
I'm not concerned about the TGF making money because, like I said, I know that my husband probably contributed tens of thousands of dollars every year to golf, so I'm not concerned about them making money. I'm just making sure that we are not violating the process and that we are utilizing the $2 million. And if there's going to be a contract given to someone who's actually going to be doing the work, that has that been given an opportunity to others to participate in that process is I guess my concern, because I've not been privy to the memorandum of understanding or agreement, so I was not aware that it even existed. And I guess I will probably reach out to my committee to see if they are aware.
The MOU or the participation agreement does indicate design and what else did you say? It indicates design.
The architectural design and the actual.
Yes, yes, ma'am. It includes all of that and goes through this advisory council.
So I'm just wondering, is it going to include irrigation? Is it going to be, the fertilization, aeration, all of the things that it takes in order to, build a beautiful? Are we trying to get Trent Jones golf courses here? Or, I'm just trying to figure out, Yes.
Stuart, need you to step up.
My name is Stuart Smith. I'm a board member of the Tennessee Golf Foundation, and I'm probably a little bit of the genesis of all of this, so I can speak to the design. First of all, there's probably 3 or 4 design firms that would even undertake this project. We had that person, Bruce Hapner, do the design work at Percy Warner, and because of the success and because of the budgetary in effect of this, which means McCurrick Golf, and there's about 3 or 4 others that are in the United States that would do this sort of work. So it's not the type of thing that anybody could come up and say, I want to, like a regular construction company would not be able to do this. So this came about because of our ability to do Percy Warner within a very tight budget.
TGF is a construction company?
No, we're not. We are on the financial hook for anything above $2 million, and we've put that into the contract. So when we're doing this because Shelby Park gets 20,000 starts less than Two Rivers and Ted Rhodes, and it's because of the conditioning of the golf course. 2 of the most decorated golfers in Nashville history, Lou Graham and Brant Snedeker, grew up playing this golf course. It needs some help. So what we would be doing is resurfacing all of the greens, the tees, repositioning a few of the tees. And we're doing this certainly with the budget in mind. And I think that was the sort of the hook, or what the mayor's office really liked about it is this is a lot of work for not a lot of money. So I don't know if that answers your question.
So the tees, when you redistance them, are you going to, for the seniors, are you going to?
Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to help your husband out.
And to, and to clarify, the $2.5 million, the $2 million for this project comes from the 4% funds. The 2.5 that were used to design Warner, that was private fundraising.
Right.
And so all of it, right. And so then in that agreement, Warner selected TGF to do the work. I want us to understand that 4% funds, private dollars.
Right, but you make a very good point, because I do know of other nonprofit organizations who have proposed to do work with the city government, and they just needed funds to do so. and it did not work this way. So if the mayor's just decided solely on how this is done, then I guess the process needs to be reevaluated. That's the concern that I have, especially when there's not been input. And I know you said that it's coming before the Parks Committee or the Public Facilities Committee next week. So,
Point of clarification, does final decision lie with this body? The council, that's what I figured. Do you have anything else?
no, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. What I want, I believe that this agreement that we have for the planning is one thing and the advisory committee is separate. I think that those are two different things, and I would like to take them separately because we have been given names of advisory committee members, and your name is on here, Mr. DeLay. And I've looked up these persons. I would like to have more input as a body into who, if we agree on this, into who, and I'm not talking about you, into who gets to decide and gets to be a party to this plan. These are names that have been given to us. I've been able to look them up. I know that they're good people. I mean, you know, that they are experts, but this has already been set and we don't have any input into that process, one. And then the process, one of you said, if we're not doing what we want, then we get to say, but what is the process for dissolving the advisory committee? Are we stuck with you? We stuck with it?
And I'm sorry, my apologies, Mr. Chair. Before we get a response, if you don't mind, Dr. Steele, I'm sorry to have opened this can of worms and then have to leave for another meeting. But my thinking is that I'm actually fine with partnering with TGF. It seems like the Parks Board the Parks Department seems to have already been in communication. You all seem to be confident in the partnership. I just struggle with Mr. Wilcox. I'm sure you can understand with my time at the school board that I'm always thoughtful about appropriateness and then who will be where, who is appointed where, and then how does that reflect on the city. So I would just like more time to think about, discuss, maybe hear about what that committee would look like. I'm fine with moving for approval of the partnership itself, just not with this advisory committee as stated, as listed, that would begin in December 26th. We would have a new mayor by then, go through December 28th. We would be looking at another mayor potentially, just a lot of different questions. And on that note, it's been a pleasure.
If the work goes, I have another question. I got questions. If the work goes over and I told Tom this before we got started, and he's going to be like, Michelle, sorry. If the work goes over the $2 million, that then hits Metro Parks budget?
Hi, I'm Tom Cross with Metro Legal and worked on the agreement. And the answer to the question is no. They are responsible for cost overruns. Now, one thing that ought to be clear is that the Parks Department gets to work collaboratively with them on the design. So an overrun is fairly unlikely since we should be on the same page and they should have an idea about what the cost of the work is going to be before they embark. But the answer to the question is no, that doesn't come back on Parks.
Okay. Outside of the concern that Councilwoman Hurt raised regarding the allocation, it didn't go through an RFP process. My second issue again is maybe we take it separate from the committee. And so I would like to recommend that this participation agreement, I don't know, I just, that piece about the advisory committee, and they already named in the participation agreement, is concerning to me.
All right, let me see if I can, from what I know anyway, clarify a little bit. So I think the participation agreement and the funding go together, okay? Mm-hmm. And I think that, and the names that were on there were I guess put forward by a lot of the folks at the golf staff. They know these avid golfers at the different golf courses around. It was really trying to be very citywide in that, not just, country club kind of thing. And so it was very intentional. And the names were, my understanding is the names went to the mayor's office and they vetted them and everything else. I think my suggestion is that we pass this just with the caveat that that maybe we have the ability to, maybe not appoint, but approve of the members of this committee in the future. I don't think anybody have a big issue with that. Yes, sir?
Can I just one point of clarification? The 3 TGF were specifically identified in the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 employees were something that I specifically wanted, and they were identified. The three public were recommendations from my staff. They weren't from that was basically agreed at that meeting, and they were recommended by the golfing staff who knew the regular golfers, the golfers who golfed a lot, who had a real investment in our golf system. That's why we picked those folks that we did. If you all want to pick somebody else, that's absolutely fine. And then, of course, we picked one park board member because we love Pete. But we picked one. We did one park board member. But again, if that's not appropriate and you want somebody else, whatever the park board wants in that, and again, however y'all want to go on this, I'm fine with. I'm just saying that's how we got to where we got to. So.
Yes, sir.
So my only comment is.
Thank you for that clarification.
Under D, where park board member, why don't we say a park board member to be elected by the park board, not.
Okay.
Okay, my apologies, colleagues. I don't want to call for the question because it seems like a discussion, but I do really need to leave. So might we be able to make a motion that is friendly enough for all of us that either we review this committee list as a whole at a later date, or we open it for adjustment at the next meeting? And I guess it's more for Metro Legal. I'm assuming we can adjust this at any time.
You can. Just a clarification, the proposed list is not part of the agreement. The agreement just calls for the creation
advisory committee.
Of the advisory committee. So if you, and what you have before you in the list is just a recommendation. Sure. So you could approve the agreement and come back and approve the list later. You can come back with a different list, whatever you want to do.
I really didn't want an advisory committee at all, but I can be swayed.
So did we have a?
May I make a motion, we approve the agreement and review the list at a later date?
Have a second? Yeah, I can second it, right?
I can second.
All right.
Any discussion?
Discussion, yeah.
Can we schedule the later date to be the next meeting? I'd like to amend the motion to have us review the, participants or appointees at the August meeting.
I agree with that amendment.
Okay.
I'll make a discussion point first before I think I may have a friendly amendment to make. Obviously, I love the spirit of this, and I think it's great, and I understand the need for some specific oversight, especially when you have responsibility for cost overruns. But specific to the concern that was mentioned about the opportunity to participate, specifically for firms to benefit from publicly allocated dollars, I'm wondering if, and I completely understand that the memo is separate, but in Exhibit A, if it would be worth mentioning something that says that this process will work with the Business Assistance Office, just as a form of notification, because this work will go through likely a primary contractor, so there could be an opportunity for folks to get some type of participation. I don't think we should mandate it. I don't think we should be very restrictive in maybe even setting a goal, but at least making the notice. And leveraging our city's resources that we already have with the Business Assistance Office, I think would make a lot of sense.
Reasonable to me.
Saw a lot of nods. I'd like to make a friendly amendment to Exhibit 1, that somewhere in the context that it will be coordination in good faith with the Business Assistance Office to advertise the opportunity.
Do we have a second?
Can we go back to Robert's rules? Metro Legal, we had two friendly amendments. Are those one amendment and then a second?
I think you all are discussing at the next meeting. I don't think that, I think it was Susanna that made the first amendment. That doesn't require. an
Okay.
amendment. You all, the staff can administratively put it on. But the actually amending the exhibit would be.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
I still don't like the committee, but I'll go with it.
All right, we need, and she's leaving, so we got one last thing that needs to be voted on before, while we have a quorum, right? Well, then I've got to go as well, but, well, where is it? Because it's actually kind of time sensitive. Yeah, it's acquisition. New business, 72306, staff requests approval of 3 agreements relating to the acquisition of a parcel of property improvements located at 607 Bass Street, parcels 1050205-700, 1050204-3300, 1050204-3200. See attached draft Metro Council ordinance and associated documentation. I noticed we also, Sam also brought a kind of a picture of this. And my understanding is this is a property that we've wanted to purchase for some time, and we have a lot of, somebody's here to talk about that?
Tim
I got
Mitch.
both. Tim, you want to handle that?
Sure. Are there specific questions about it that I can help to answer?
With the Fort Negley plan, just
That's
on the
correct.
record. Thank you.
Yes.
Take a vote.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Sorry, there's just there is a typo on the agenda that it doesn't match the parcel number. I noticed that when I was looking up the parcel number, so just needs to be corrected that the first parcel number listed is let's see, it's missing, I think 32. I'm sorry, I think it should be 10502 02570. So that's just one point. I think the other thing that I wanted to raise as a question is that the agreement has an expiration date of June 22nd, 2023. So I'm not sure how that fits with the legality of the agreement if it's already expired.
We can adjust the date. This has been going on a while. We're not going to terminate it on the basis of the date lagging behind.
Okay. One other thing that wasn't included in our material, but I'm assuming there was an appraisal of the property.
There was an appraisal of the property, and the purchase price is a couple $100,000 below the appraised value. We can get you the appraisal if you'd like to see
That'd be
it.
great. Yeah, thanks.
And Mr. Vice Chair, before you take the vote, I'd like to let you know that Mr. Henley is recusing himself from this vote.
Okay. Do we have a quorum then? I guess we got, what, 4 out of 7? Okay. Then, let's see, where were we? With the clarifications notwithstanding, then do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thanks. Pass. I'm going to pass it over to Susanna here. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is 072308, Friends of Shelby Park and Bottoms request acceptance of an in-kind grant of approximately $64,500 for improvement to Shelby Park and Bottoms. This grant requires no match.
We don't have a quorum.
Okay.
Hold on. Move the presentations. She said move the presentations.
So we're not able to take this next agenda item because we don't have quorum? Is that correct? Okay.
And so all agenda items, I would recommend, I'll defer to council. All agenda items listed here that require a vote will be deferred to the August meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so then, goodness, so then, let's see, the next item should be special presentations. Okay. Let's see, Friends of Millridge Park to present the annual update to the board. Welcome. Thank you.
Hey, y'all. Good. I'm Daryl Hawks. I'm the Executive Director of Friends of Millridge Park. And I believe that this occasion marks my 6th annual update to this board for a park that's not yet open. And so I look forward to my next update to you all, that reality changing for us all. Friends of Millridge Park was established in 2017 with a mission to enhance and advocate for Millridge Park to strengthen the community in Southeast Nashville. Since we began operating in January of 2018, we've hosted over 12,000 visits at Millridge Park through our year-round weekly activities for recreation and conservation. Additionally, we have cared for the parkland, improved the parkland through cleanups, waterway and parkland cleanups, as well as trail building and structural improvements. Thank you. All right. So we're governed by a passionate, active local board of business and community leaders. And we are now a staff of 3 plus a couple of interns. I think last I updated you, it was a staff of 1 still. And so we're glad for our growth. Pictured here, you see our August splash day that took place at Millridge Park last year is one example of the activities that we're hosting for free to kids and grown-ups from the community. Our 22 finances for fiscal year ending in December included revenues of nearly $250,000, which was a 48% increase over the year prior, with expenses exceeding that revenue for $274,000, end-of-year assets totaling $130,000 nearly, against liabilities of over $2,000. Corporate foundations and partners sustain our work and grow our impact. And we're excited that this growing list of organizations includes now national organizations such as the National Recreation and Parks Association. And that partnership and those resources come to us thanks to the partnership with Director Odom and the department. How we do our work and how we make our impact is through partnerships and collaborations with community organizations, some of those listed here, who show up at Millridge Park throughout the year to provide their service work, to instill their missions in service of our community at the park. Most recently, we hosted the Rafa Institute on Saturday for a healing hike that consisted of nearly 200 folks that came out from South Nashville to hike the nearly 3 miles of grasslands trails that Friends of Millridge Park have put in place. Underway and upcoming, we have Phase 1 opening soon. We're expecting an opening in August. We'll look forward to seeing you all there for that. Additionally, Trailhead and Trails. On June 3rd, we hosted the community. Some 3 dozen folks came out to celebrate National Trails Day. And we hiked nearly 5 miles of primitive trails that have been improved by Friends of Millridge Park and many volunteers from the community. And we kicked that off from a trailhead that was a private-public partnership contribution to Millridge Park that's almost complete and that will officially open in August as well. Underway now, we have Phase 2 planning. We are grateful for the contribution or the commitment of $8+ million in the current capital spending plan that will fund the next phase of construction at Millridge Park. And we are working with the department now for planning the scope and design of Phase 2. You can find our calendar of events as well as other information about our work at friendsofmillridgepark.org. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Just a clarification, you said phase 2 is estimated at $8 million? Is that right?
The current capital spending plan includes $8.7 million for funding of phase 2. Friends of Millridge Park has committed to a private raise in addition to that, which we're working with the department on now.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I noticed that in the Parks Finder on the Metro government website that Millridge Park is not listed. And so I hope that even though we haven't officially opened, there's been years of activity there. So I hope that we can get it added to the Park Finder. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just a quick comment. One, I'm really excited for the growth. I think that's fantastic, and to now have that staff and to be in a very good financial situation. And I just wanted to commend the amount of outreach and the diversity of partnerships. I think, in the spirit of parks and understanding that these public spaces need as much love as they can get, and then having a steward to kind of help broker that. So thanks for the work you're doing, and please pass it on to your staff. So
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next up is the capital projects update with Tim Nate.
Thank you. As usual, I'll just hit on the high points. At Fort Negley, Master Plan Phase 1, we've requisitioned the Phase 1 design work, so we should have a purchase order in place within a few days, and then we'll be looking to launch that work around the 1st of August. At Hartman Park, we've been working for some time on a participatory budgeting project that involved a new restroom building in the park. That design work was completed. We put it out to bid. We extended the deadline on the bid, and we got no bidders on it. So we are looking at alternate strategies to find a way to get that built and installed. At Millridge Park, you just heard Daryl's great presentation. We're looking at an opening there in early August, and Jackie may have more information on that. Old Hickory Community Center project. Construction of that project is in the queue at procurement for actual construction, but we will begin hazardous material remediation in the existing building within the next several weeks. Steve Vaughn's recreation staff has vacated the facility, and they're operating out of a alternate location and will for the duration of construction. At Ravenwood Park, there will be a ribbon cutting event there on July 22nd. There's a typo in your presentation, and so we're working on the punch list on that site right now. And then at Trinity Hills Habitat, this is a project that has been paused for some time while we work through some coordination issues with Habitat. They're now prepared to launch their fundraising campaign, which you all approved a year or more ago in August, and that will allow us to move forward with the design phase on the 52 adjacent acres that we currently own. Those are the highlights. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Tim. Next up is Greenways Open Space update from Cindy Harrison.
Good afternoon. I'm going to do the same as in running through the highlights. The 440 Greenway Sevier Park to Browns Creek Park, the design should be finished up in August. The other 440 Greenway project, Park Plaza down to Centennial Park, we expect to follow completion fairly shortly after the Sevier Park project. The Fort Negley Greenway to Browns Creek feasibility study will be wrapping up here, I expect by the end of the month or mid-August as well. And the Wharf Park to Riverfront Park Greenway feasibility study, again, will shortly follow that. We're in the procurement process on the Opry Mills connector and putting that out for construction. Tim mentioned the Habitat Trinity Hills project. There are 3 easements associated with that, providing access to the park and to adjacent Metro-owned property that will be developed later. Those will be coming your way after we work through those agreements, but they are standard Greenway easements. The Metro Center levee greenway will be repaved, or half of it will be repaved by Metro Water Services. That should start probably mid-August and could take 3 weeks to complete. It should be open. The trail should be opened up on the weekends. So a much needed repair, and we really appreciate the partnership from Metro Water Services on that. The first, the Cumberland River Greenway connector from First Horizon Park down to the main greenway is under construction with the construction of the multifamily, multi-use development happening there by Portman. And we've got a bit of time before that will open up, but I've been out there and the construction is moving along on that. I've mentioned for several meetings, the Harpeth River Greenway proposed at the Ariza Bellevue multifamily development has gone to council and was approved with amendments on second reading. So it still has another reading to go at Metro Council. And that does have implications for us regarding greenways. Request for a Brookmead update. We're still working through the design process on that and expect it to go out to bid in the fall. So we'll keep you posted as we move along with that. And then lastly, I wanted to introduce our newest staff member on the Greenways and Open Space Division, Joanne Conley. Joanne, she has been here all of a day and a half now, and has already been out on 3 or 4 sites, and I've pulled her into probably as many meetings. So we're throwing her right into the fire. Joanne's a landscape architect. She's coming to us from Pennsylvania. So we've got a really great team and excited to have all the diverse talent that we've got. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Welcome, Joanne. And as always, there's, so chock full of things, 3 pages, very full, so I know you're busy. We're going to go back on the agenda because we, in fact, do have a quorum, and so I'm going to go back to items that can be voted on with the understanding that the participants are available. So I'm going to go to 072309. This, Vanderbilt University Athletics Department requests permission to provide Vanderbilt University Athletics branded signage on the new scoreboard at the Centennial Sportsplex at their expense. See attached mock-up. The signage will be installed on the structure of the board for as long as Vanderbilt University Athletics remains a tenant on the swimming facility. Their recommendation.
Staff recommends approval. If you all will recall, you accepted this donation the previous month, so we recommend approval.
Okay, I actually wanted to raise a point about this, so I'm going to, I think that one of the things that I appreciate is the long partnership that we've had with Vanderbilt, but I do think that this signage and branding, to me, crosses a line with our park policy and the kind of flavor that we have of keeping parks free of logos and welcome to everybody. So I know there's other tenants and other people who use the facilities. So I would not be in favor of passing this. I appreciate that there was a donation that was brought before us, and we approved it last month, but I think that if that donation was contingent upon the approval of a logoed sign, then we might have to reconsider that donation. So, John, would you like to speak?
I can't speak to whether or not it's conditional or not. My guess is it might be. In regards to the sponsorship, it's the difference between sponsorship and advertising. A number of years ago, we've never allowed advertising in parks. I think there's an ordinance against advertising in parks, but there was a policy that allowed for sponsorship. And we do have sponsorship signage in the Sportsplex. We have a sponsorship agreement with the Nashville Predators, and they have signage in both Rink A and in Rink B. We have a sponsorship agreement with Nashville Aquatic Club, and they have signage in the natatorium presently. We have a sponsorship agreement at, and these are just some examples, at McGavock High School baseball field, where a baseball, they got sponsorship to install a new scoreboard, and it was an actual, I want to say it was a bank that paid for it, but it's not, they couldn't put their logo, but they did put their name on it as sponsorship. So we have, the park board has a policy and has approved sponsorship in the parks in the past.
Okay. I appreciate that. I guess maybe this, I need to understand about the cost of the sign and what a sponsorship means, and how, is the $157,000 or however much the sign was that we approved last month, the cost of the sign. And I think, yes.
Madam Chair, might I recommend that this item be deferred to the signage committee for further discussion and consideration, given your comments?
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I move. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any, okay. None opposed. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is 072310, Friends of McCabe Park. Are we okay to continue with this agenda item? Okay. In partnership with the Nashville Parks Foundation, request permission to raise up to $400,000 and implement improvement projects in McCabe Park. Project improvements at the McCabe Park Community Center will include the renovation and expansion of the playground, beautification, landscaping, and equipment upgrades. The Nashville Park Foundation has agreed to serve as fiduciary partner in administering the fundraising and administration for the McCabe Park improvements. Is there a staff recommended?
Staff recommends approval, and I think we have representation here from the Nashville Parks Foundation and the Friends of McCabe.
Okay. Would you like to come forward?
Hi, Louise Bryan, President of Nashville Parks Foundation. This is easy, effective, and really excited about this. Dan May and his group have produced robust community engagement with friends in the neighborhood, as well as many other stakeholders. They've also engaged all parts of the Parks Department and used them as guidance. I'm excited that we can provide the fiduciary partner to this, and I think it's going to be great. I'll let Dan speak.
Sure, we're a kind of informal incorporated group of folks who heavy users of the park and are excited to work on a set of projects that have kind of come out of our community work and also conversations with the Parks Department. Happy to answer any specific questions, but just tell me what's appropriate.
Great, thank you. Any questions? All right, do we hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is upcoming special events and activities from Jackie Jones.
Chair.
Oh.
Chair Scott.
Okay, let me just.
I'm sorry. They left. We're going to defer that to August.
Yes. No. Thank you. I should have clarified that. All right. So, Jackie Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone. So July is Parks and Recreation Month, and park systems all over the country are celebrating by having special events, doing online promotions, etc. Our department is doing the same. If you check out our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter account, you'll see some very interesting things going on as far as Parks and Recreation Month for Nashville. As part of Parks and Recreation Month, we have the grand opening of Ravenwood Community Center. Ravenwood Park. That is scheduled for 10 a.m. Saturday, July 22nd. We hope you will join Parks Director Monique Odom, Mayor Cooper, and Councilman Kevin Roten for some food and fun during that opening. So we hope to see you there. That's next Saturday at 10 o'clock. Other events you might want to be aware of. We have our big band dances every Saturday in Centennial Park through August 26th. Tales at Twilight at the Centennial Park Band Shell at 6 p.m. every Friday in July. On July 14th, we have the Nashville Jazz Workshop at Hadley Park. We have Fever Candlelight Concert at 4:30 at the Parthenon. And we have the Music City Jerk Festival from 1 to 8 p.m. at Walk of Fame Park on July 15th. And believe it or not, we have a back-to-school event at Coleman Park on July 30th. So feel free to join us at any of these events. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Jackie. As always, fun to hear your report. Next item on the agenda is the report of the director.
Thank you so much. I'll be brief, but did want to make you all aware of a few items. On this coming Thursday, the Metro Nashville Police Department Training Academy will be conducting a graduation ceremony for session 102. There will be 2 park police candidates graduating in that class, and I'm excited about that. So, yay, Parks Police. All of our facilities, as you know, are busy. This is peak park season. And as busy as we are, we know that accidents can happen. And I wanted to just report on one particular accident that recently happened, and it ended well. I want to acknowledge and commend Miss Sabrina Williams and the lifeguard team at Luby Swimming Pool. Their life-saving efforts saved the life of an 8-year-old swimmer who was found unresponsive and then revived. Her father has reported that she is recovering well, but I really just want to commend that team and let you know how hard our team works to not only make sure people have a good time when they're in Metro Parks and at our facilities, but also that they're safe and that they are impeccably trained to do so. So I would have loved to have had Sabrina and the team here today, but it was a little short notice, but wanted to make mention of that. Also want to mention that our our internal Miracle Field Committee, we had expected to come to you this month with a recommendation, but it will now probably be September. We've had some schedule shifting. As you may recall, Vice Chair Johnston is the Parks Board designee on that committee, but we are making progress and hope to have a great recommendation for moving forward with some amenities, a location for park amenities that are targeting or focusing on inclusive play and focus on young people at all ability levels. So hope to report on that in September. And then finally, to Jackie's point, as she listed the many things going on in the park system, and you have the roster of events, I want to encourage you all to go out and enjoy some of those events. I would recommend you keep that list in your car because it just may be impromptu that you may be out and can take part in some of those activities or programs. So I'd just like to encourage you to do that. That is all I have, unless you all have any specific questions of me.
Any questions? Okay, are there any announcements or future agenda items or any open items?
One thing I'd like to mention that is tentatively also planned for the August meeting is an update by our legal representative on ethics, our ethics training. We've had, some turnover in park board membership, and I don't know if you recall having that training, but we'll redo that at some point, and hopefully it'll be in August.
Will that be at the end of our meeting? Okay. All right. We'll take a motion to adjourn. All right. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.